Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Joe. Nice to see you.
You too.
It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and new faces as well. So we're up to 135 participants and counting. And I see that Ryan, our board chair, has arrived. So, Ryan, I'll kick it over to you and you can get us started whenever you're ready.
Terrific. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. Appreciate everyone's attendance here on what is our last governor's workforce meeting of this year. And to say it's been a big year is an understatement, both in the work that this organization has done, but also now that we're on the other side of a federal election, which in and of itself was a bit of a sea change. And so as we are planning and thinking about next year, we're going to, of course, have to take that into account and what, if any, impact that will have as the next government kind of gets going in January. So it's something that Kelly and I and others are really staring at to make sure that we have a good line of sight and how that's going to break. But the way I wanted to frame this up, and I know that we have a packed agenda, so I won't take much time, but in the spirit of this being the end of the year and the start of a new one, really thinking about this as an inflection moment for the Governor's Workforce Council. I was chatting with the governor about this earlier today, and kind of the way we were thinking about it in our heads is that this is really kind of the 3.0 moment for the Workforce Council. And what I mean by that is if 1.0 was when this formed at the start of the governor's administration, 2.0 really was this group during COVID that had to adapt pretty significantly, and we saw an influx of ARPA dollars that helped to kind of fund and prop a lot of things up that are soon going away. And so we really have to think about this as our 3.0 moment and what we're going to have to do differently. In speaking with the governor, he and I both share part of this 3.0 moment and thinking about next year is continued and increased collaboration between labor, business, higher ed, as we're thinking about that strategy. So much of what this group has talked about in the past and will continue to in the future. So that's just the way that I wanted to kind of set this up. And I know that Kelly and I have been working hard at that and thinking about the strategy reset for next year, and so much of the work that we've been doing within the Office of Workforce Strategy, but just getting everyone on the same page, even at an ethos level of what I think this moment is, and within it, a great opportunity for this group. And so, Kelly, I'll turn it over to you to get started with the rest of the agenda.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. Really appreciate having you on board as our chair and all of the new insights and opportunities that you're providing us in your leadership moving forward. So I really do appreciate that. We will have the governor joining us shortly here. He is in transit. So as we move into the next part of our meeting, here's our general overview, and we're really excited today to be able to spend a considerable amount of time talking about the People First report that came out of the 119K Commission. So we will be having the authors of the report and the response from the governor's office, the state of what is happening at the State Department of Education and our workforce boards, and how all of that work is supporting our opportunity youth and ensuring that they have, equitable opportunities and pathways to being re-engaged, and gainful employment is really the first step at being able to have social and economic mobility. So we're excited for that conversation. We're also excited to have Doug Casey joining us today to review the state's digital equity plan. There's been a tremendous amount of work put into this plan, and really digital equity is one of the foundations for economic and again, social prosperity and movement. So we have a full agenda for you today. And before we jump into those interesting conversations, I have a little bit of general business for us to spend a first few moments on today. So I wanted to give you a brief update on where we're at with the workforce strategic plan. I want to thank all of you, those that came to our September in-person meeting at Gateway campus of CT State. We had a full house with almost 200 people joining us to get a deep dive into the strategy, the goals, our future state, and how we want to move that forward. You know, as Ryan had mentioned, we're really turning another corner of Governor's Workforce Council 3.0, and the strategy will really be our foundational document in with how we're going to proceed and move that work forward. So where we're at now is we had a lot of really great feedback. That feedback has been incorporated into the draft. We're going through it one more time with a fine-tooth comb to clean up any language, make any clarifications, any layout design changes, and then it will go through the approval process for release in the upcoming few months here. And we'll keep you all posted on that and make sure that you all get sent out the completed document as soon as it's available. Also today is we have 3 items up for our general Governor's Workforce Council State Board requirements. So I'm going to present to you a request to make an adjustment to our PY23 WIOA allocations to the workforce boards. We're also going to look at the Governor's Workforce Council meeting dates for 2025, and then we need a vote to approve the meeting minutes. So I'm going to run through each of those individually to have a discussion. And before we do that, we're going to go ahead and take attendance of the board members. So I'm going to turn that over to Laura for the attendance. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies in advance if I butcher any names, but I will absolutely do my best and we'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. Amy Porter or her designee. Anthony Medici or his designee. George
Approved.
Anderson.
Sorry, yes.
Hi, Anthony. So sorry. Brian Doubles or George Anderson.
Allison Moore is here for them.
Thank you, Allison. Charlene Russell Tucker or Keith Norton.
Laura, I'm here.
Thanks, Keith. Chris DiPentima.
I'm here.
Thank you, Chris. Cindy Bigelow.
Here.
David Stuber for Dan O'Keefe. Dante Bartolomeo.
Here.
Ed Hawthorne.
Here.
Erica Smith. I know she was running a minute behind. Keep an eye out for her. Greg Ugaldi.
Present.
Thank you. Heron Gaston. Jay Williams. Jeffrey Flax. John Murphy. Joseph Gianni or Bill
Good afternoon,
Tompkins?
Laura. I'm here.
Hi, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Judy Olian or Bethany Zemba for Judy?
Bethany Zemba here for Judy Olian. Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Kathleen Szilard or possibly Sal Mancino?
This is Catherine Duras. I'm here for Stanford Health.
Thank you. Kelly Vallieres is here. Carrie Hona. Leslie Torres Rodriguez.
This is Suzanne Palmieri here for Leslie Torres Rodriguez, or for Public Schools.
Thank you, Suzanne. Leticia Colon de Mejias. I think I saw her.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Maggie Hulse or Jack Mahoney.
Present.
Thank you, Jack. Mark Argosh. Marty Guay.
Present.
Matthew O'Donnell. Maury McInnes.
Present.
Thank you, Maury. Melissa Turner or Kyle Ballou. Michelle James. Molly Kellogg. I think she's traveling. Monette Ferguson. Nikki Menounos.
Present.
Thank you. Nitin Kumar.
Good afternoon, I'm here.
Thank you, Nitin. Paul Costello. Saw him.
Present.
Hi, Paul. Paul Pernaruski or Nick Guillermo for Paul.
Present.
Thank you, Nick. Peter Nystrom. Radenka Merrick or Gladys Kersaint for Radenka. Ray Penault.
Present.
Thank you, Ray. Rebecca Rose.
Present.
Thank you. Rohan Freeman. Ryan is here, I know. Sal Menzo.
Present.
Sal. I don't believe Pratt and Whitney, Shane Eddy, or Peter Holland, correct? Nobody from them? Shehu Muhammad. Shelley Davis.
Present.
Thank you, Shelley. Steve Sullivan or Jonathan Harris for him. Terrence Chang or possibly Rai Kathuria.
Terrence is here.
Thank you, Terrence. Tiana Ocasio.
Present.
Lori,
Tiana.
this is Gladys Kersaint for Radenka Merrick.
Thank you, Gladys. Tony Walker.
Present.
Thank you, Tony. Taiwanda Tally Rushing. Wes Alexander. We reached the magic number, folks. Thank you so much for your patience. Kelly?
Thanks, Laura. And I do believe that we missed Sean Coyne, and I do believe I see him there.
Oh, no. Did I? I
Yeah,
sure
also
did.
Kelly. Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Kelly. So sorry, everyone.
And also George Perez from the Department of Banking. I sent in after the roll call started.
And Kathy Austin is on too.
And Erica Smith, too.
Yeah, this is David Stieber for sitting in for Commissioner O'Keefe from DCD.
All right.
And Aaron Johnson for Mimi Haley with the National Youth Employment Coalition.
All right.
And Joyce Taylor for Jody Hill Lilly at the Department of Children and Families.
And Leisha King here for Garrett Euclido from DOT.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
And Carlo Leone from DOT as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate everyone spending your afternoon with us. So I'm going to jump into the general business items that we currently have. So if we can switch the slides to the next slide, please. We wanted to come back and readdress an allocation that we had previously voted on and approved. So as you recall, the WIOA authorization provides funding for the governor's reserve. And in the governor's reserve, we vote on how some of those funds or all of those funds are allocated. And there's traditionally a group of expenses that we use the governor's reserve to fund to keep the work moving forward. And then depending on the allocation annually, there's an additional bucket of funds that we can use at our discretion. So at our last meeting, we approved, actually not the last meeting, last year's allocation. We approved the use of $883,000 to these three items. Now, these funds can be utilized over 3 years. Given the fact that last WIOA's allocation was short by over $1 million from the previous allocation, and these funds come through a formula fund through the Fed, so we don't have any way of determining exactly how much money we're going to get until the formula is calculated and applied. So this year, the fund, the WIOA allocation to the workforce boards provided two boards with a significant shortage of funding over the previous years. So the boards have come back to us and asked that we expand the usage of their allocation under this approved vote to also include that they can use these funds for additional job training programs or for enhancing the participants' experience in engaging with the American Job Centers. So that could be an expansion of a service or a resource for them. But I think primarily, they'd like to use these additional funds to be able to go towards training. And just for your review is each of the workforce boards received approximately $125,000 to go towards this line item. But we said that these dollar amounts within these buckets would be determined at an as needed basis. So that is going to be our vote number 1. And what I'm going to do is run through all 3 votes. Then we'll take a motion to move forward, and then we'll open up discussion on any of these 3 topics. So if we could go to the next topic would be our quarterly meeting dates. And I understand it's going to be really hard for all of you to go open up your calendars and look at these 4 dates. We tried to keep them very close proximity of when they have been historically kind of held, keeping them to each Thursday. We also did a survey after last in-person meeting and asked people around the time of day that was convenient to them and whether they liked in-person or virtual meetings. And we overwhelmingly received feedback that people would love to have an in-person meeting biannually. So we determined that probably an early summer and an early winter meetings would be every other meeting in person at a location to be determined. And so we're going to move forward with that. We currently don't have great technology to do an in-person meeting in a hybrid format. So we're going to stick to either an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting. But again, we tape all of our meetings. So if anyone is not able to attend, you can always view those meetings after they've been posted, or we'll work to see if CTN can join those meetings and live stream them on our behalf. And then the last piece of business is a very easy standard one, is to accept the meeting minutes from our September 12th meeting. So if I could get a motion to move forward on these 3 agenda items, and just remember that we need motions and votes from the GWC membership. So if you're here from the public and you're not a member of the GWC, please do not vote. But you are welcome to ask a question if you have one as we open it up for discussion.
Kelly, Greg Ugaldi, and I'll make a motion that we approve all 3 if that's appropriate.
Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate that. Do I have a second?
Rebecca Rose, second.
Thank you. And is there any discussion? Okay.
Wait, Kelly. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to raise my hand. This is Representative Walker. I just want to understand the part that you were discussing about the 125,000 that was going to go to the regional workforce boards upon need. Is that what you said? And that will be determined by whom?
Okay, so let me clarify. So we had provided funding to one workforce board in a previous allocation as they were upgrading and moving their American Job Center. At that time, we didn't have funds to provide equal funding to the other workforce boards. So when we received this funding the year later, we had provided that one board, Capital Workforce Partners, with $125,000. So we had committed that the next year's worth of funding, another $125 minimum, would go to each of the other 4 workforce boards to be utilized for improving the customer experience within the American Job Center. We had approved that each of those other 4 workforce boards would receive that $125,000. In conversations with them, as we are looking to implement and fund these projects, it was received that they received less funding this year from the WIOA allocation. So they wanted to be able to expand the usage of the 125,000 that we allocated to them. So that's what we're trying to do here to even out the playing field. That leaves approximately, well, it's $383,000 left of this allocation. We've also been working very closely with the workforce boards and Connecticut Department of Labor on improving the CT hires system, both for the external user experience and the use of the folks that use that for case management and reporting processes. So we've gone through some conversations and working groups on potential investments that we would like to make. We are working collectively to determine how we would like to spend that money with regards to supporting the improvements to CT hires. We also understand that the opportunity for career pathways was limited to the amount of funding. So we wanted to be able to also utilize some funding to support, say, summer youth employment or other youth opportunities. But given that the amount is so small, if we did career pathways activities, we would want to share that equally with the workforce boards. And about $76,000 would go to each of them. So right now we're talking with them on, because that's such a little amount, how do we want to allocate that additional amount of funding? And so that's an internal conversation that we've been having, and we're happy to have your feedback and input on that conversation if you have any ideas that you would like to formally present.
No, I didn't come equipped to do a formal presentation. So
I didn't mean right now at this moment. I mean, we're happy to follow back up with you after this if you have any other ideas you would like to share with us.
Just one question. The American Job Centers are, each one of the regional workforce boards has an active American Job Center, correct?
Yes, each of them have a comprehensive American Job Center, which means all of the required partners are under one roof. Okay. And then each region also has satellite American Job Centers that provide more focused services depending on the population and the location and what's needed in those areas.
Okay. I like the idea of the 76. I know it's not a lot, but going for youth at work, because I wish that we would get a presentation from the youth at work that the regional workforce boards did this past year, because it was phenomenal, and people really don't understand how many kids we really serve and educate and elevate into the world of work with these things. So any penny that we can give to them to share with our youth at work, I think is very important. We should be giving them more, but that's okay. I'll be very quiet. Thank you. Thank you very much for explaining.
Thank you so much, Representative Walker. And that is the direction that the conversation is leading to. And you're in for a treat today, because we are spending an hour of our time today going over the 119K report, and each of the workforce boards is going to highlight some of their youth program that they ran this past summer. So we're really excited to share that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other discussion on any of the other items? Okay, so we're going to call a vote for all three, and a simple aye. And if you oppose to any one particular one and approve the others, when I ask for any opposition, just please let us know which one you're opposing and if you're abstaining from any one or all of them. Okay, so we have a motion to accept the three business items, which are the change to the WIOA authorization usage, the Governor's Workforce Council 2025 meeting schedule, and the meeting minutes from September 12th. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstained from the minutes. I wasn't there at the meeting last time, unfortunately.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that. Okay. And I'm just doing a quick check. Do we have the governor on yet? Not yet. Okay, I'm going to do quick updates from OWS and he'll be joining us momentarily. So if we can move the slide forward. And thank you again for our legislators who have joined us today. We're looking forward to the upcoming legislative season and just wanted to give a brief overview for those who are joining us on the call that the session starts on January 8th and runs through June 4th. This is what's considered our long session, a full 5 months. This is also a biennium budget cycle, and the General Assembly and the Governor's Office will be looking at the budget that will commence from July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2028. So these are our fiscal years, which don't always line up with our calendar year. So we've clarified that in the bullet point here. And as you know, legislators will be introducing bills on many different topics. And I think the call to action here to everyone that's on the call is to ensure that you're tracking bills. If there are items that are important to you, causes that are important to you, you can go under CGA and you can track your bills. Contact your legislators. Legislators, we know that they are always here to hear from you and want your input and opinions. So please take advantage of that opportunity. There's also opportunities for the public to participate in hearing or in person at the LOB or to submit written testimony. And we're happy to support this in any way we can. And, you know, you're all here to support the items that are important to you. We always appreciate the input and the work that the General Assembly provides in helping move forward the strategic plan. And we look forward to a really robust and meaningful legislative session moving forward. Is there any of our legislators that would like to add additional comments?
I might jump in if I could, Kelly.
Sure. Oh, here you are, Governor. Great. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to flip it right over to you.
Appreciate you guys being here. Look, hearing your update, Kelly and Ryan and the rest of the team, our fundamental mission in workforce strategy hasn't changed, in my mind anyway. Every state's got to compete on what their strengths are. I've always said our strength is the quality of our workforce. That's key to our economic development. It's key to lifting people up. I think the circumstances have changed in the last year or so. We had a lot of federal money coming in and around COVID. We had severe shortages in a number of areas. Nursing comes to mind, paras, trades. And we put that money to work in a way that we could get people to work quickly with the skills that they needed going forward. We're in a little different environment now. I think some of those severe shortages have mitigated, although there's still work to do. And a lot of that federal money, that ARPA money, that $70 million that we had committed, isn't here, beyond this year. So it's a good time, with Kelly and Ryan and the team to rethink how we do workforce going forward and build on our strengths. I can think of the fact that our manufacturing pipeline is solid, continues to be funded. What we're able to do for the advanced manufacturing sector. We have a number of one-off programs for nurses and teachers and trades. We're going to have to work harder. We're going to have to work with Ed and Hawthorne and Shelley and the trades, how we work together going forward to make sure that we are training the people you need there for all the incredible, construction and other work we're doing around the state right now. We're going to have to figure out our relationship with the business community a little bit more. Maybe this is more of a shared partnership going forward as we continue to do our training, in a different way. I see Cindy Bigelow there, and I know that Christy Batima is there, and These are places where if we can work with the business community, tell us where we should team with you going forward, the skill sets that are most in need to make sure that we're tailoring, our programs where best you can. And we're going to have to think in terms of OWS, how we work with all the different players within state government as well. I think Terrence Chang is on, and Marty Guay, and how we better integrate in terms of our community college program, in terms of the training that we've got to be doing there. These are all places where I think we can work together and collaborate. Dante Bartolomeo, Dante's amazing in terms of the apprentice program and the job centers done out of Department of Labor. And we got to make sure that we are providing the apprentices for the programs that you think that are most in need. We've got advanced CT and some of our folks in the business community, as well as Christy Matima for some of the smaller businesses, to make sure they are front and center at the table in terms of the job skills they need now and over the next few years, to make sure that we can take our resources, such as they are, and target them where best they need to be. So this is why I think this group right here we've got in front of us is more important than ever, to make sure we're working together. We don't have all the federal resources at the end of this coming fiscal year, but we still have the energy and the need and a lot of other programs that we got to coordinate to make sure that we're meeting your needs. So thank you for inviting me. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much, Governor. We really appreciate your commitment to the work that we're doing and ensuring that we're providing the talent necessary to all of the businesses that are highly engaged with us today.
I'm also glad to see Thea Montanez is on, and Joe DeLong, and the 119,000 committee. These are folks that we need them in the game. This is an amazing opportunity to lift everybody up. I think that's what this next session is going to be about, and I hope you listen in.
Great, thank you. We are really excited to be able to share the work of the 119K Commission. And with us today, we have Joe DeLong, the Executive Director and CEO of the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. And he's going to spend a few minutes sharing with us an overview of the People First report, and really specifically focusing on the workforce component of supporting our opportunity youth moving forward. And then from there, Joe, I'm going to just have you turn that over right to Thea from the governor's office, and then we'll move right through to the State Department of Education with Charlie Hughes, our Deputy Commissioner, Keith Norton, our Strategic Planning Officer, and then to the workforce boards. So thank you, Joe. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Kelly. If we could get, I think Marina Tan's going to get our slide deck up, but I'll jump right in. A couple comments. Number one, sincere gratitude for being invited today. I really appreciate this opportunity to share this work. Following the governor, though, always a tough act to follow. So, really, but also want to say I really appreciate his welcoming remarks and his comments and partnership for all of this work as well. So the 119K Commission, as you likely know, but it was a response to a report done by WIOA Education that identified this segment of the population of at-risk and disconnected youth. The commission was made up, and by the way, the terminology now that's more commonly being used is opportunity youth, which I happen to actually really like that terminology. So as I go through this report, I'll probably start shifting from the at-risk and disconnected more into the opportunity youth dialogue. But the commission was predominantly made up of local CEOs, mayors and first selectmen from cities and towns, both big and small, all across the state. There were only 3 commissioners that were not municipal CEOs. I was one of those. Andrew Ferguson, who was the co-CEO of WIOA Education, served as a commissioner, and a young gentleman by the name of Josh Brown, who really represented this population well. Josh is a very successful adult that came up through a very challenged childhood, youth, and was able to find the right supports and resources and really turned his life around and is doing some amazing work. So he was a great asset to us, not only through his real life experiences, but his ability to connect with this population from all across the state. So as you can see on the screen, what the commission really zeroed in on very early was was putting forth a strategy or a plan with the North Star goal of reducing this 119,000 population in half over a decade. So you can see on the left sort of where we are based off of the Dalio report and where the commission was wanting to head or is intending to head with this plan over on the right in 2035. And in doing that, the plan is really broken down into those three very simplistic type of actions, which are preventative actions, really making sure that we're keeping young people from becoming off track to begin with and keeping them on track, or if they're just starting to get off track, that we get them back on track very quickly. And then the recuperative actions, you know, that when young people are at risk, that we get to them quickly, have strategies in place that get them back on the right path. And of course, a lot of that is done through identifying and implementing practices of early intervention. And so that's sort of the layout that you're going to see. Now, here in a minute, if we'll go to the next slide, I'll kind of give you an idea of how, well, let me just process here very quickly, really quickly. So you can see the commission did a very transparent process all across the state. They held multiple meetings, 6 regional forums, private meetings. As you can see, there were 400 attendees that showed up at the regional forum. We received 84 pieces of written testimony through the website. Individual commissioners hosted their own local forums with over 110 residents that participated. We had 15 stakeholder briefings. I always laugh at the 8 national expert briefings because, to be honest with you, there really are no national experts in this space. There are experts in components of this space. And so we were able to meet with those experts who specialize and have seen success in some of these various components and drivers. 7 monthly working sessions where we pulled the full commission together and started to develop this process and this plan and making sure that their input was received and that they were comfortable and we were on the right track. And I skipped the second one on here intentionally because, from my perspective, the most important part of this work that we did was really close to 280 young people that we set down who are at risk, disconnected, who are opportunity youth. And we just listened to them, understood their daily struggles, started to understand, you know, what they wanted for their futures, what their thought process was on how to get there, where their supports were that they were able to find in life, who were the trusted adults that they could turn to, and really tried to make sure that we were developing a plan that met what we heard from those young people all across the state. So as we get to the Young People First plan on the next slide, in a minute, I'm going to kick this over to the Boston Consulting Group, who helped us throughout this entire process, and they're really going to do a little bit of a deeper dive. But in the end, this actual plan falls into 4 pillars on 22 aligned actions. And I think the one thing I want to really express is that word aligned is very important, because none of this is sort of standalone. This is all an iterative plan that complements each other and feeds off. Each one of these aligned actions feed off of each other. And by the way, what you're going to see when the Boston Consulting Group, when I kick it over to those folks in a minute, you're going to see that these aligned actions for workforce fall through every component of this plan. And that first pillar of coordination, we talk a lot about coordination with the coordination of services with not-for-profits and the social service organizations. But a whole lot of where workforce falls into this is just making sure that, 1, we have the data that we need to understand where the needs are, but 2, that we have access to the programs, clear access for young people so they know how to access workforce programs. They know how to actually get into them and find a path forward. So it's the entry point and making sure that we are filling the needs of where the young people are looking for work or where they're looking for opportunities. Those next 2 pillars on conditions and capacity, it's a lot of the meat of the report. And what that really does is it takes into account all of the good things that are already happening. There are very little things in this report that would say Connecticut is doing this poorly or Connecticut's not doing this at all. That's not how this report is built or this plan is built. It's built off of all the areas where really good things are happening. And we need to accelerate those things or bring them to a larger scale. We heard from so many young people in incredible programs that were really changing their lives, and then finding out from a capacity standpoint that there were a lot of others that didn't get in. And so a lot of these recommendations in here are trying to build on the good work that's already taking place and providing the support and the capacity to that good work to bring it to a larger scale to fill in those gaps for young people. And then the last thing before I kick it over, the coalitions piece. And I think the coalitions piece is maybe won't be talked about a lot from this point forward in this plan, but it is critical to the success of this as it applies to workforce, because we have to have that strong partnership. And I'm so grateful for Christy Pentima and others who have helped us so much through this process. But we have to have that strong partnership with the business community, number one, to make sure that they lean in and provide opportunities for these young people to fill in to those roles. I can tell you, aside from all the work that I do, I'm also an employer. And I have probably failed as much as anybody as an employer of not looking at the opportunities with this population. When we read resumes, internships, all of those things, we're looking for somebody who's in college and is at top of their class and is doing all of these things. And so I think all of us as employers have to lean in and have to be partners to figure out how to grow these opportunities and to bring these young people in a stronger way into our economy. And we have to be partners with the labor community and the Department of Labor as we talk about apprenticeships and where they fit in and where they make sense. And so that building of coalitions is so important. So those 4 C's, I'm going to kick it over now to Nikki Axman and Lane McBride, who will pick it up from here and who would just kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive in each one of those areas of the components of this report and how we hope to be able to lean in and help and support the good work that's already taken place.
That's great. Thank you, Joe. And it's great to join you all this afternoon. I just have to say at the start here, it's been a real honor to be a part of this work together with Joe, you and your team, with the commission, and with many caring and engaged folks across Connecticut, including a number I see in my Zoom screen here today. I'm going to just take a couple of minutes and go one click deeper than what Joe shared with regard to workforce specifically in the 119K plan. And to start with on this page, we tried to summarize what were some of the workforce development relevant themes that we heard, that the commission heard through those different means of engagement that Joe talked about a few minutes ago. We heard good examples, if you look at the left side of this page, good examples of positive experiences in workforce programs. We also heard many examples, and you'll see some of these reflected in the recommendations from the commission, of insufficient scale, both from young people who tried to get into a program and weren't able to, and also from those who said, look, we could do a lot more of what we're doing, but we lack the resources to do it. And so that was a theme. And I think you'll see that reflected in the aligned actions that the commission put forward. Secondly, we heard, and I think this will not be a surprise to this audience, that even where programs exist, there are gaps that relate both to awareness and to barriers in life that make it difficult for young people to be able to participate in workforce-related programs and opportunities. And that the need for these wraparound services and supports to overcome barriers in order to be able to participate in the workforce, to participate in pathways to good jobs, that need is significant. We also heard a lot about the transition out of K-12 into what happens after K-12. We heard a lot of good examples of models of support for young people who are at risk when they're in high school. Many of them actually ending up graduating from high school, and then challenges with what happens after, and a feeling like young people in too many cases were falling through the cracks once they got beyond the purview of the K-12 system. And then lastly, we heard some feedback from young people themselves about the types of opportunities available. You can see this quote here was related to having more hands-on opportunities. And of course, young people, we heard from a diversity of young people with many different hopes and dreams, and this is one set that's represented here. So these sorts of things that the commission heard informed some guiding principles behind the workforce-related aligned actions, which you can see on the right side of this page, and will be reflected in a second when I speak to some of those specific actions. We heard a lot about scale. We talked a lot about marketing, awareness, navigability, wraparound supports, so that young people would not only be aware, not only would there be funding for them to have a spot, but they would be supported in life to be able to take advantage of workforce-related opportunities. And we heard a lot about career-connected learning and partnerships that would be relevant both in post-secondary education, but then also upstream and in high school and even before in the K-12 system. So over the next couple of pages, I just want to high spot some of the specific aligned actions in the 119K plan that relate to workforce. And I will say this, there are a lot of aligned actions in this plan. There are 22 at the top level, and you'll see that many of them are subdivided into 4 or 5 sub actions. We felt, and the commission felt, that this was important to reflect the breadth and the depth of the challenge, and also the breadth and the depth of the ideas and opportunities that were presented to the commission. Even still, this set of aligned actions is a snapshot at a point in time. And the intent of the commission, and I think, Joe, you would second this, the intent of the commission was to put this out as a marker and a guide, but not the be all end all. That there's more work to do. There's more work that probably the commission, even with all that engagement, I'm sure there are things that we missed. And more importantly, there's important work to be done going forward. And so these aligned actions should inform that, but the commission was fully aware that they wouldn't be the whole of what will happen from here going forward. So in terms of the specific aligned actions, the first couple here are really cross-cutting. And they start with integrated case management. And we heard very much from young people and from frontline service providers, really from all of the different sectors that support young people, around this need to have caring adults who really get to know and understand young people, and who help young people to bridge across government and other services that often can exist in silos. And this is very hard. But we also heard really good examples of where this is happening in pockets in high schools. It's happening in supports for young people, young adults through WIOA. It's happening in homeless services. It's happening at small scale where school districts are working together with the other local social service providers, with the police and individual municipalities. But there's a significant recommendation in the plan to scale that activity, and not to do it top down, but to do it bottom up, to find models that are working at local and regional levels and to grow them. And you can see, and maybe just one more note on the structure of these pages, you can see in the right column, this is a funding assumption. This is the assumption that was used to come up with a cost estimate. It's not the only way that the action could be implemented, but it is a way it could be implemented so that we could get an order of magnitude estimate of the resources that would be required. And so you can see that for this one, and you can see it for the ones I'll talk through. The next aligned action related to workforce is 211. This is one Joe can speak to more as well, but the idea here is that 211 becomes a go-to resource for everyone, inclusive of young people, a true digital one-stop shop, building on the 211 that's existed now for quite a long time, but taking it to be the app in someone's pocket to help them to navigate services. And then for the rest of this, I'll just high spot additional recommendations, and most of these will fall in the category of these were promising. In some cases, I would even say proven programs that the commission identified in Connecticut, where there is an opportunity going forward. So starting with promising, the Aligned Action 11A speaks to the Career Accelerator Program that's already planned within the Office of Workforce Strategy, lifting up that as an opportunity. If you go then to 13B, you see work-based learning, and this aligned action speaks to the need for technical assistance for local school districts and schools to expand workplace learning opportunities within K-12. 15A speaks to transitional employment programs and gives some examples of existing models. It speaks to a significant need and opportunity to scale those programs to reach thousands of additional young people who would benefit from them each year. And if we go to the next page. So this page starts with registered apprenticeships. And so this aligned action relates to creating more registered apprenticeships and having the resources and capacity in the local regional workforce development boards in order to do so. Similarly, 15C speaks to fully meeting the need for the youth employment program. We looked at this one as sized based on the size of demand and the wait list for the youth employment program and what it would take to eliminate the wait list so that all young people who want to participate are able to. Similarly, 16A speaks to an expansion of Youth Service Corps, building on existing programming in Connecticut to reach significantly greater scale. 19A speaks to an expansion of support for post-incarceration bridge programming. And then 19B speaks to incentives for employers to hire formerly incarcerated young people. And so you can see across these recommendations, there are a couple that are broad and cross-cutting with case management and 211, and then many that speak to the momentum that already exists, the models that already exist in Connecticut, and the significant need to scale them up. So with that, Joe, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, I think, we can certainly take any questions that anybody has, or at this point in time, that was the high level presentation we wanted to prepare. And if the commission prefers, we can kick it right back over to Thea.
We do have a few minutes for some Q&A. We can either take that now or we could leave it to the end of the presentation. If you have anything that's burning that you want to share with the group, or a question that you want to ask, you can also put it in the chat, and we can use that chat board as an opportunity to facilitate some conversation. Our presenters could respond, and any of you could respond as well. I think, we have so much to learn from each other, and there is so much great work that is happening across this ecosystem. That, it would be great that if we could, keep this conversation moving forward after today's presentation. And I did want to note that Anthony Barrett from our office is leading a subcommittee on Opportunity Youth. And with that, we have Mimi Haley, who is here today, who is leading national work on Opportunity Youth. So there's a lot of expertise on this call. And I know as we continue our work together, we can really start to scale these best practice programs. Dante.
Thank you, Kelly. It seems that we want to keep it moving along, but I just want to offer to Joe and Nikki Joe and Lane. I'd love a conversation with you folks and my team about 15B and registered apprenticeship. I think there's a lot of clarification that we could provide that would be helpful.
Dante, I agree. Absolutely. And we will definitely circle back around with your team and get something on the calendar. We know there's an area there that we need to clarify some things, and we also need to learn from you, certainly. So we will make that happen.
Thanks, Joe.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. That's a great point. Okay, so I see a couple things coming up in the chat. We'll continuously monitor that and respond. All of you are welcome to respond. And at this time, I will move it over to Thea Montanez from the Governor's Office, who leads our Kids Cabinet.
Thanks so much, Kelly. I am Thea Montanez. I joined the Office of the Governor back in May as a senior advisor to the governor after working at the city of Hartford for 8 years, first as a chief of staff and then as chief operating officer. And during my time at the city, I worked with Joe and team at CCM on multiple projects. And so I have a deep appreciation for the work that they do. And so it's great to reconnect in this new capacity. In addition, I served on Dalio Education's advisory board, as well as the advisory board that supported BCG's first report that came out in 2022 or 23 called Connecticut's Unspoken Crisis. So within the Office of the Governor, as Kelly mentioned, I chair the Governor's Kids Cabinet. And so that group is comprised of 11 state agencies. And we are all focused on creating solutions and working together as agencies to figure out how to better support the needs of Connecticut's children, youth, and their families. And so we certainly have identified Opportunity Youth as a focus of our work together. So upon receiving the recommendations from Joe, we began to set up a series of debriefs, if you will, between Joe, BCG, and our state agency leaders so they could have more understanding around the 22 recommendations. And since then, our state agencies have been reviewing those recommendations and looking at the work that we're currently doing and opportunities to strengthen those efforts, enhance those efforts, or consider things that we just haven't, considered in the past. And so that's an ongoing process. The next step in that process is for us to then set up time with Joe and his team and BCG and do exactly what it is that we just described between our Commissioner of the Department of Labor and Joe, which is to have a one-on-one and figure out, again, what, from the recommendations are we currently doing? What could we be doing more of or better? And finding opportunities to partner on those things and move them forward. So I'm really looking forward to that process. While we're doing that, Governor has been spending time with young people throughout the state of Connecticut. One of the 22 recommendations is that we create a youth service corps throughout the state. I'm very proud to have created that program with Mayor Bronin in Hartford in 2016. It is now in Stamford, Connecticut. And so one of the recommendations is that we replicate that program in other communities. And so Governor met with a group of young people in Hartford who are participating in Youth Service Corps. And he heard from them directly about, what it is that they think that they need. In addition, not too long ago, the governor and I visited a group of young men that are incarcerated, that were between the ages of 15 to 17 years old, that are at Manson Youth Institution. And we spent time with those young men to ask what it is that they needed and what they think they need upon their release from incarceration. So we will continue to meet young people wherever they are in the state of Connecticut and see what we learn and what we hear from them directly. I will say to you that I've been here for 7 months at the state of Connecticut. I have been overwhelmed by the number of programs and initiatives and resources that the state has available to its residents. I wish I knew a quarter of what I know now when I was in Hartford City Hall. And I think that's really an opportunity for us in partnering with Joe and many of you on this call to figure out how do we make those resources more readily accessible, available? How do we just let folks know that they're there? And so I look forward again to partnering with many of you to figure out how to do that. So I am certainly happy to answer questions. And I'm also available after this particular meeting to talk to folks one-on-one if they'd like to discuss more about the way we're approaching the recommendations. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks so much, Thea. We have time for one quick question. If anybody has something burning they wanted to ask Thea, comment. Okay. Well, I'm excited to hand the next portion of our conversation over to our 5 regional workforce boards. They are really the organizations that have the boots on the ground within your local regions and are doing, really great work, supported by the Department of Labor and OWS, to provide opportunities for our opportunity youth. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Bill Villano to get us kicked off.
Kelly?
Yes.
Respectfully, we would like to defer to Charlie Hughes and Keith Norton first, if you don't mind.
My apologies. I'm looking at slides on the side here and I didn't have a placeholder for you. So I'm sorry, Charlie. And
No worries at
Keith,
all.
thank you so much, guys, for being here. We really do appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I'll kick it off to you and then we'll go to the workforce board.
All right, all right. Well, we'll be fast and concise. How's that sound? So thank you very much, Kelly. I'm Charles Hughes. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for Academics and Innovation at the State Department of Ed, here with my colleague, Chief of Strategies, Keith Norton. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the work that we've been doing in the space of workforce development and career pathways at the State Department of Ed in the past year or so. And then really this sense of urgency that we have to take action and start moving the work. I know there are big projects that we want to work on, but certainly we're interested in taking those small incremental steps that can really move the work forward. So thank you all for the opportunity to share. Recently, we've met and gathered information from our districts. And thank you, Mr. DeLong, for sharing a lot of the detail as to what you found in your report, because it affirms a lot of what we identified as opportunities and started to create some systems around this work. The first I'll identify is a $3.8 million ARPA and ARP-ESSER investment that we made in our districts. We had 89 districts propose grants at their local level based upon their local need to develop and expand programming that would either open up opportunities for dual credit opportunities or workforce development. And really, we saw a wide range of our districts submitting their grant proposals, everything from bioscience to engineering to manufacturing, personal finance, art and literature, hospitality. That really, we saw a great breadth of proposals from our districts to expand what they're offering to students. So creating that system and infrastructure that does meet the needs of our kids across the state. The second part of our investment was a $4.9 million investment in partnership with our IHEs to expand dual credit opportunities for students as well. We actually heard from the Connecticut Association of School Student Advisory Board last spring, who conduct advocacy projects. One of the big concerns that they had were actually related to the cost of higher education and being able to access that and the sustainability of it. And so it was nice to also affirm the work that we had started with this grant, and again, the opportunities that exist for our kiddos at the higher ed level. So I'm going to just share my screen real quick. We've tried diligently to not only share this information so you can learn a little bit more about our programs. I believe you should be able to see the dual credit opportunities page that we have. So if you want to explore that, I'll drop that in the chat as well. But we've also created a mechanism by which we can monitor the impact. And our colleagues over at DOL work closely with our performance office. Some of you may have seen our dashboard for post-secondary labor and earnings. So we can track going back to the class of 2007 all the way up to 2016. Of course, there's some lag on these data because they're entering into the workforce. But you can see the progress over time and the earnings with degrees or non-degreed individuals entering either the trade or elsewhere. The other dashboard that we're quite proud of, and again, our partners at the higher ed level, is tracking the impact of the dual credit courses students are earning while in high school. so we can monitor the types of courses, the participating institutions, and the number of students who are actually earning credits before they graduate. So certainly important to us to understand the impact of these grant programs that we've developed early on and adjust where appropriate. So I want to hand off to my colleague here, Keith, who's going to talk a little bit about where we plan to go in the most immediate steps and what we're really excited to bring forward. So without further ado, Keith.
Thank you so much, Charlie. One of the really important things that we see in the Department of Education that's been part of the success of programs is collaboration. We've done a lot of work with CABE, CAPS, CAS, CEA, AFT, representatives from higher education, community-based organizations with our post-secondary success work group. This has been work that's been occurring over the last few years. We continue this very good work, but now we have established the beginnings of a new group called the Secondary Success Work Group. This is a group of district partners. It's really focusing on the local folks, and the purpose will be to collaborate with school districts throughout Connecticut to support the expansion of career pathways, enhance post-secondary education preparation and opportunities, and develop critical social and emotional programs. Additionally, we will provide technical assistance to recipients of the aforementioned dual credit expansion grant. One of the things that we have been very successful in doing as well is establishing the Career Workforce and Readiness Council within our department. This council conducts monthly meetings to foster collaboration among various offices within the Department of Education on crucial projects that are related to post-secondary readiness, career pathways, opportunities for both youth and adult learners. And as an aside, we're making a concerted effort to include opportunities for our adult learners in all of our workforce and career pathway programs. A primary goal of this group is to inventory the significant work being undertaken across all of our initiatives, coordinate project plans with other agencies, and contribute to the objectives that are outlined in the State Board of Education's plan. And in particular, the Perkins Grant funding, the Career Technical Education, or CTE, Adult Education and Education Certification programs, which are really key to ensuring that we are coordinated in providing maximum efficiency and maximum opportunity for all of our students of all ages. Finally, we're also developing an IRC, or Industry Recognized Credentials Registry. We're in the process of identifying and documenting certifications and industry recognized credentials related to career pathways in partnership with agency offices, the Office of Workforce Strategy and the OHE. We will audit IRCs and stackable credentials in priority workforce areas, including healthcare, manufacturing, bioscience, and computer science and IT. So as you can see, the Department of Education has been working diligently to coordinate and streamline the very good work that has already been in place by our agency and our districts. And at the same time, we've been looking ahead to future plans in line with the State Board of Education and Governor's Workforce Council strategic plans. And we've begun new programs in collaboration with our districts, other agencies, workforce boards, industry leaders, and key stakeholders. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about some of our more exciting programs, and we welcome any inquiries offline to speak more about our work.
Thank you so much, Charlie and Keith, for all the amazing work that you're leading and for your partnership, not only with OWS, but with all the stakeholders. As we all know, it takes a village to raise a kid, and it really takes all of us together to provide the opportunities to help our opportunity youth and our students as a whole. Okay, so now it's with pleasure that I introduce you to Bill Villano. Bill, go ahead and take it away, and then if you could introduce each other by next one in line would be great. Thank you.
I know I was muted, sorry.
No
Laura, are
worries.
you starting my slides? Or am I sharing? Okay. All right, thanks. So my presentation is going to be less about what we're doing at Workforce Alliance and more about Connecticut's workforce system. You're going to hear from my counterparts about the variety of youth initiatives that are going on around the state. So for most of the state and federal grants that we get, and discretionary grants as well, there are core components of the youth program and supports that we do. So for example, they deal with the workforce preparatory activities like work readiness, career exploration, work experience. Summer jobs program is a very good example of work experience. And then they move on to other programs that are designed, skill training, job shadowing, on the job training, and those are all initiatives that lead to employment. Many of the services are accessed through a network of American Job Centers that Kelly mentioned, and we operate those in collaboration with a network of education, business, and other community partners. The activities are kind of age appropriate, but they're all really kind of designed to move people from post-secondary education opportunities, or to employment. Next, Laura. So what we measure, what you can see here is, all kinds of participant information is what we measure. We also look at what are the, there was some discussion, what are the barriers, what are the supports necessary, and then a lot of outcome and follow-up information. So not only is this, comprehensive data for all the reporting, but it also helps us to evaluate in our evaluation and program improvement. Go ahead, next. I do want to briefly talk about the youth employment program, the state-funded youth employment program, and it's also some misnomer, usually referred to as the summer jobs program, and that's primarily because a good portion of that funding supports summer jobs, summer employment, but there is a year-round component that is increasing because the governor and the legislature, and special thanks to Tony Walker and Kathy Austin are on the call. They increased the funding this year, allowed us to serve many more kids that had been excluded in previous years and to do some more of the year-round funding. If you just look at some of these numbers, this is what our summer program did. We're in the process of compiling a lot of the demographic and other data from just this past summer jobs program. But in the 23 program, we served just under 3,400 youth statewide. And in my area, I've got 21 of the 30 municipalities running programs. But again, last year in the 23 program, there were young people from 127 towns and cities that participated in the summer jobs program, which is 75% or so of Connecticut's municipalities. So Laura, I'm just going to zip through these next two slides. I put two slides in here to only point out that there is a variety of work experience that young people have, both in not-for-profits, municipalities, and the private sector. So this first one is just this first one is just a nonprofit that refurbishes furniture and kind of sells it somewhat like Goodwill does. Okay, next, Laura. And then there's example of a municipal job. This young lady happened to work in the West Haven mayor's office. And then the last one there is a private sector employer in Middletown. So you can go, Laura. So you've heard Joe talk a lot about the 119 commission. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but I did just point out in here the 6 kinds of gaps that were identified in the report. And while the mayors, selectmen, and the other commission members and others discussed a lot, there were kind of 3 things that that I thought were important and issues that were of concern. The first is that many young people don't know where to go and what to do. How do I get the help I need? Where do I get the services? Second, many of the organizations that they spoke with could not definitively, and I don't know if that's the right word, but definitively give them the types of information on expenditures and program outcomes. And then third, they were looking to establish local networks to address these problems, and that there seemed to be some kind of disparate system out there that needed to be put together. I did have a brief conversation with Joe at that press event, and a few with Andrew Ferguson, who they mentioned from Dalio. And I've been in this job forever, probably since Noah built his ark. And so every time when I see one of these reports, monographs or studies or things like that, everybody looks to create something new. And I mentioned that a good part of this infrastructure already exists in the ecosystem of industry-driven, business-led workforce boards. And while we're not the end-all, be-all to help solve this problem, I think we can help in a strong way to begin to address the many concerns that they've raised. So, and as you can see on this slide, there are 20 career centers and satellites throughout the state. We have a very, very strict, detailed reporting system and guidelines. Our system can tell you to the penny what we've spent on participants, infrastructure, services, supports, training, anything that you want. We do outcomes, and again, services, reports, supports. We can give you any information that's necessary. And in those 20 workforce career centers that we have, it's a network of partners that are necessary to provide all of what is looking for in this commission. So I just want to thank the council for this opportunity to present today. We hope that we've given you a little bit more information, and you will hear a little bit more information from my counterparts on what we do, and we would ask for your support and your advocacy as we begin to initiate this very, very exciting commission report. And I yield the remaining of my time to my counterpart, Kathy Awad from the Northwest region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Laura, I believe you have just a 2-minute video, and then I'm only going to speak for a few minutes after that.
We can answer it without being physically
We have our nurses stationed here, and one of the things that we have, so when patients are on fetal monitors, we have our strips here at the desk that the nurses can look at. Many times babies will have blue feet and hands for 12 hours or so until they're really vigorous and crying, and they can move all of that circulation about. This is the hardest thing, is getting that, like, I have to go, oh, yeah, that was the biggest thing. But 1 and 2 and 3, breathe. 1 and 2 and 3, breathe.
I'm going to have you walk through a visit the way that it would be if a patient came in to see you with no problems, right? So someone who's coming in for their annual physical.
Miss Bonnie came down to us in the sister dining hall and talked to us about stroke. I spent my day so far with Miss Kim, where she talked to me about what goes on in the lab.
We have scheduled a full hour for the students with our surgical residents, where they will learn real surgical skills that are part of our curriculum for those trainees. Skills like hand and instrument knot tying, intubation, use of laparoscopic simulators, and a generic X-ray anatomy review. Despite a robust population base, We rarely see applicants from this geographic area looking to return here and complete their training, where they have a vested interest in the healthcare needs and outcomes in the community. It is my hope that we spark an interest in surgery within at least one student this week.
It was the happiest day of my life.
Thank you, Laura. We could go to the next slide. So just want to just thank my team for putting that short video together. I would direct you to our board's website for a series of videos that kind of highlight the work that we're doing with our youth and young adults. Just to recap, that summer program that you saw, and I apologize, the slide was wrong. There were 70 students that took place for 5 full days. It was a 1-week, 40-hour immersive experience. They were able to go through a number of different departments within the hospital system, shadowing them. We're hoping to spin this off, and we continue to work with the 8 work sites that participated with us to create a program called Saturday Rounds that will happen during the school year and allow the students to pick a particular department that they were interested in and be able to be spend significant time immersed in one type of field of healthcare. So again, there were 8 different folks that 8 different health systems that participated with us on this. And I would also like to thank our regional sector partnership in healthcare, who really helped put that together. And it's been a tremendous work, a collaborative work between the board, the healthcare partnership, and the hospital systems. Next slide, Laura, please. Again, just recapping, we had sites throughout our region: Waterbury, Torrington, Trinity Health here in Waterbury, St. Mary's, Nuvance participated in both Danbury, Waterbury, and Sharon Hospital, Waterbury Hospital, and Charlotte Hungerford, Hartford Healthcare. Again, thank you for all of those. And I'm proud, I hope some of you might have caught it on the news Saturday night. The city of Waterbury was proud through Trinity Healthcare to host its very first Black Men in White Coats event. We had 1,500 residents. The program started at 9 o'clock in the morning and ended at 3. It was well attended. We participated with our virtual reality goggles, which I'll talk a little bit more in the next couple of slides. Thank you, Laura. Next slide. One of the things that we wanted to just highlight for you was that type of immersive experience really can solidify a student's determination. Pro or con as to whether or not that thought of a career path is what they really want to pursue. As you can see here, 70% of the students, before they started the 1-week experience, had talked about a career in health. And by the end of the week, 85 had committed to a career in health. And some of our students were actually hired by the health systems that they work in and are now working after school jobs and on the weekends in various departments. So we're very pleased with that. It does reflect the impact of that hands-on immersive experience. Next slide, Laura. So healthcare wasn't the only industry sector that we work with, and not just here at our Northwest region, but throughout the state. We've got programmings in culinary arts. Here in Waterbury, the Waterbury Police Activity League has a tremendous culinary program, right up into an advanced culinary food truck where the students actually run the food truck and have catered events throughout the state, including Project Longevity's event at the Capitol last summer. We have an education pipeline where we do a peer tutor program where we send high school students in as peer mentors and peer tutors during summer schools in our municipalities. And we have a year-round program called Homework Haven, where the younger students are able to get help with their homework by the older high school students. And on our minds, we're creating that future teacher pipeline by exposing our high school students to the opportunity to help educate their younger peers. Up in Torrington, we have a unique hydroponic food garden where we've had students be able to experience the hydroponic world of food production. And those, it's all lettuce, and it's quite a thing. And I would encourage you to visit it and maybe purchase some lettuce up there. And then we have a banking program called the Future Bankers. We have great partnerships with some of our local banks that host these students for immersive experiences. And the students, when they complete the curriculum, they also get 3 college credits for the principles of banking class that they create. And of course, Connecticut stalwart manufacturing. We do a 6-week experience across multiple manufacturing programs where students spend the 6 weeks in the summer going back to school. They're paid to participate. And by the time they're done, they leave with a NIM certified credential and the opportunity to move forward in that manufacturing career. And Laura, if you could bring up the last slide. I just want to take a second to talk about the partnerships and participant development. By expanding our reach to those that are hardest to serve, I'd like to just share with you that the Northwest Regional Workforce Board and all of the other workforce boards have a very important partnership with the Bureau of Rehab Services. We provide a number of work-based learning experiences to high school students that are enrolled in Level Up, and those transition students that the districts are responsible for till they turn 22. These programs provide real-time, real work-based learning experiences where the students are paid. They're placed in different industries of their liking throughout the region. And one of the highlights of that program is the students come in and we provide them with the virtual reality goggles so that they can do the career awareness modules to see which type of industry they'd like to be placed in. This has been extremely successful. We also offer workshops for the BRS students, as well as all students in the area of financial literacy and work readiness, those important soft skills about being on time and making sure that we're being attentive in interpersonal communications. And lastly, a really unique partnership that we're proud of is that MYI, as was mentioned earlier, through the Department of Corrections. We currently right now have a number of our virtual reality goggles on loan at MYI, and the participants there, and I'll call them participants, the participants there have the opportunity to do the career awareness goggles, but more importantly, those goggles also contain full training modules across multiple industry sectors, and these students can complete those training modules prior to the release, which allows them to become extremely employable upon release. So we're very pleased with that. And I would say that the most important partnership that I could stress today is the Workforce Board's partnerships with the legislature to make sure that you understand the importance of the funding that you earmark to us for these programs and the time that it takes for us to develop these work sites and the programming. There's a tremendous opportunity here. The 119K Commission has done an important work, and the workforce boards are ready to help make a greater impact into those 119,000 students. Thank you for the time today, and I'll pass it off to my colleague from the workplace, Joe Carbone.
Thank you, Kathy. And thank you to OWS folks for inviting me. And thanks to the Dalio family for their thinking about doing a study of this sort, because timing could not be any better than it is right this moment. When the governor spoke a few moments ago, he made reference to this shortage of labor in the Connecticut market. And there's no question about that. And if you talk to any business, it doesn't matter size or nature, you will hear their first response that it's very difficult for them to find replacement workers of the quality that they're looking for. So we decided at the workplace that we're going to take one of our programs that really has become our signature program called Platform to Employment. And we wanted to do a local study to see whether or not that structure, which was initially founded because of the long-term unemployed folks back during the Great Recession, to see whether or not it can have positive impact on a portion of the 119 commission or the 119,000 youth that were cited in the report. Given the nature of the relationship with employers, and we in Connecticut have some wonderful employers, but when you've got self-interest on their side and you've got folks who can provide positive labor energy into the market, they become the target, the natural target of people that we can invest in and employers can invest in for employment in the future. We looked at one part of that 119, which is some 40,000 plus young people. Again, they're between the ages of 16 and 26. Some 40,000 plus who have graduated from high school, but they still don't have a job, or they are significantly underemployed. So here we are at this moment where we've got a labor shortage. We've got a lot of reasons to be thinking very big and very bold. And why is that? The heart of the crisis has to do with what we call the labor force. And by definition, the labor force would be the sum of folks employed and folks who are honestly looking for work. Keep in mind that the Connecticut unemployment rate is just over 3%. And in the district that I represent, which is Lower Fairfield County, our unemployment rate is 2.8. So both numbers are certainly lower than anyone might consider full employment to be. So that market is tight. And where you can bring people, if you can bring people in from other states or so, that's one thing, but that's not been the case here in Connecticut. You've got to look at populations that are already here, and you've got to try to help them to be better prepared for opportunities that the market needs. And when I say that, we invested greatly in remote work. We at the workplace are doing a statewide and a local program for remote works, and it's growing. More and more industries are offering that opportunity to their workers. But at the same token, we need more than that. So we're looking at this group of 40,000 plus, have a high school degree again, but are unemployed or significantly underemployed. Our program, which we call P2E Youth, is different. Platform to Employment has the broadest holistic approach to individuals that I think are in the market. So from its inception during the Great Recession, right to now, it's been funded by the state of Connecticut for the last 12 years, and it's funded in many other states as well. We're doing it across the country, especially in states in the Northeast. It works. It's a re-employment program. Initially, it dealt with long-term unemployed. Then it went on to folks who were been victims of age, discrimination. And now we're using, I heard Tony Walker around just a few moments ago because she kind of got us to do this, but we do it for the reentry population as well. Tremendous success in moving people into meaningful employment. So we are doing that right now. And next one, Laura. And when I say holistic in our approach, I've listed here several things that are done for the individuals in this program. We're going to do 5 cohorts. We got a $500,000 grant from the State Department of Labor. We're going to do 5 cohorts, which is about 50 people. And we're bringing employers in almost every class, a different employer. And we're putting it in perspective of the things that they need to do in that class for 5 weeks in order to measure up and to be sure they're ready for employment opportunity. Different employers come in for each class. So we've had people there from a number of different companies, including one of the healthcare companies, Hartford Healthcare, Avangrid, Eversource, and the Metro North and Amtrak Railroad, and several others. And they come in and they give a sense of their job that they've got available, well-paying jobs that do not require any more than a high school diploma. But it does require a level of readiness for the job. So in the course of 5 weeks, classes every day, they're going to have a trainer. They're going to have access to really almost anything that they need with respect to making them more comfortable and feeling more confident. I tell you that the greatest thing that we have to overcome, these kids may have a high school diploma, but they think little about the future. They look at how much money that they may earn on a part-time job or something. And you begin to think after a while, well, this is really me at my best. And it's not. They're skeptics about that, and they have every reason to be skeptical. So it takes a concerted effort in a classroom for several weeks with professionals, knowing you have access to virtually any professional that can help you and instill in you a sense of greater expectations about your future. So we put a lot into the mind, helping people to think bigger and larger about themselves and their future. And it's working. Now, the first class has just a few more days left, and then we'll do 4 more. And then we'll put together, it's a pilot, so it's a case of looking at it to see how well it works among this group. But here we are, we're talking about a labor shortage. And that means, you sort of have to look at what you have within already. People who already live here in Connecticut, been here for a while, and how we can help them to be in a better position with positive labor energy and bring it into the market. It's working, and I hope in the next 2 weeks to report that a number of folks in this first class have already been hired. In fact, 2 have offers already. One is from the bank, and one is from a different kind of a business. But my hope is that every one of them will go to work. And each time that happens, we will bring it to the next class coming in, and the class after that, and the class after that. So it's an idea, and time will tell whether or not it works, it is successful. But we're big on it, and every place we have placed it, it's been successful. My thanks for having me here today, and thanks for all of the folks who have been working on this report. The Dalio family and their staff have done a wonderful job. And I will tell you that if there's ever a time that's right for something, given the economic conditions in our state, and I speak of them very, very positively, if there's ever been a time to feel like the wind is at your back, it is now. Employers, businesses are investing in their workforce. They realize that the scarcity of workers is going to get worse, not better. And therefore, they're offering opportunities of all sorts to their workforce. Very happy to be here. And I'm going to pass it to my friend from the Hartford District, Alex Johnson, who has also been a director of the board for a good number of years. Alex?
Good. Thank you, Joe. And I perfectly agree with your closing comments that this is a moment of opportunity. The wind is behind us, and this is a moment to seize the opportunity here. So very excited to really just take a few minutes to speak to the work of Capital Workforce Partners, but more importantly, part of the work that we are all discussing in terms of the value added of the, workforce system managed through the workforce boards. I just wanted to speak to just a couple of the programs. As Bill mentioned, he gave an overview of the workforce system. I just wanted to dive into a couple of the programs that we believe are model best practice programs that should be considered for replication as we're really looking to respond to the needs of our young people. I did want to start with the Summer Youth Employment and Learning Program, or the Connecticut Youth Employment Program. And I just want to provide a quick overview. We traditionally provide this program for young people to work an average of 6 weeks on an average of 120 hours. That program provides career exploration, competency development, provides support services. But also, here in Hartford, we're really excited that through the funding of from some of our foundation partners, that we were able to implement a mental health component, where we were able to ensure that all young people who participated in the summer program had access to mental health services, and actually were required to meet with a clinician at least once over the course of their summer experience. And as we talked about this, even with the increased funding, and really thank you for, the increased funding that was initiated by our governor and supported by our General Assembly, even though the funding was increased from 5 to 10 million. And I would also note in the capital area, in similar to the other boards, we also received some additional funding through, the Department of Children and Families, ADS, the, CSSD. And Hartford, we're also grateful that we received a substantial grant from the city of Hartford to support summer jobs. This is a $1 million grant. We also received considerable funding from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, as well as the Bank of America. But even with all of those assets counted, we were able to serve 1,300 young people, but over 4,000 young people applied. So we're still at a deficit where we're only able to serve 32% of those who really wanted this, desperately needed service. So I really applaud the recommendation from the commission report that really speaks to the need to really scale this program up so that we're able to provide an opportunity for any and all young people who seek access to a summer experience, but also ensuring that we're not only providing them with a summer job, but we're also using that as an opportunity to provide them with career exploration, workplace competency development, and wraparound supports, and particularly around mental health. So just wanted to really just ring that bell again in support of the need to continue to expand that program. I also just wanted to quickly note a couple of the other programs that we operate that are designed to meet the needs of our at-risk population. As an organization, we're diving deeply into the schools, trying to ensure that young people, while they're in school, have access to career information, have access to credential-based training, as well as supports around academic preparation. And we just wanted to note that, we were able to do this summer a dual track program with the Bloomfield School District, through the high school, where we were able to provide, dual track services where young people were in class during the day, and then in the evenings they were provided CNA training. We organized this in partnership with our health sector partners through our regional sector partnership, and we were able to provide young people with a work experience, able to provide them with a CNA credential. They're also getting their high school diploma, and we're supporting their transition to work and further education. And at the same time, we're also doing this work in an aggressive way through all of the boards through our Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act youth funding. I was happy to hear that that was one of the points that was considered. But within our WIOA youth programs, we're able to provide that credential-based training, support services. It does require that we provide young people access to a work experience. And in addition to that, ensuring that they're being placed into employment. So just wanted to uplift those particular programs, and also recognizing even with the special programs that we have for youth, we also provide access to training through our America's Job Center system, and particularly using our WIOA adult funds and our Jobs First funds. We're also able to serve opportunity youth through our American Job Centers as well. So just wanted to just kind of highlight these as pockets of best practice activity that I think are worthy of replication. Next slide, Laura. So I wanted to speak about the programs we have, but I also just want to quickly recognize that as workforce boards, we also have a responsibility to be conveners and to convene and build systems. And in Hartford, we have a career navigation system initiative. Just the quick background on this initiative, we did a study, and the study in effect noted that there are 30 organizations with over 60 staff people. They call them outreach workers, they call them career navigators, but those staff people only know what's being provided by their particular agency. So as was noted in the report also, that young people have struggled with navigating the system. Staff of the various agencies also struggle with understanding the full array of services available throughout the system. So in response to this opportunity and this need, Capital Workforce Partners, in partnership with the City of Hartford, the United Way, the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, have really come together to build out a career navigation system. And doing that in a way where we're building a no wrong door kind of strategy, so that young people, if they're connected with a particular organization, if that organization does not meet their needs, staff are trained and educated to be able to connect that young person to the appropriate organization that has the resources that young person needs at that particular time. So we're really building out this notion of a no wrong door. And with that, at the same time, we recognize that staff need to be developed. So we have created a community of practice, so that all of the staff of these organizations are getting staff development support. They're getting training in behavioral health services. They're getting a full array of supports in order to help them, build out these assets. And at the same time, looking at data sharing agreements and referral partnerships. So I did want to just also recognize that in addition to providing programs, workforce boards also are conveners within our region to build systems of accountability. And I'd like to just end by just thanking, Kelly for this opportunity to bring this information forward. Really excited at where we are. And I'd like to pass it on to my counterpart with the Eastern Workforce Board, Mike DeGello.
And just a quick comment, I appreciate all of the wonderful information you guys are doing. We are getting a little tight on time and we still have Doug to get squeezed in there. So I'm sorry to kind of squeeze you a little bit, Michael, but if you could go through the slides and just hit the real big highlights.
I will be 5 minutes or less, Kelly, I promise. Michael Nagello from the Eastern Workforce Investment Board, or EWIB, really appreciate the opportunity to talk about some of the work that EWIB and the other workforce boards are doing for Opportunity Youth. The first strategy I'll talk about is high school career pathway programs, which I was pleased is a recommendation in the Commission's plan. Our youth pipeline programs target a population that the Commission highlighted, but that's been overlooked for a long time, and that's juniors and seniors who may not be highly engaged in their academic programs, who may be at risk for dropping out, and who have no solid plans after graduation. EWIB and our two business-led regional sector partnerships coordinate youth manufacturing and healthcare pipeline programs at comprehensive high schools across our region. We launched the Youth Manufacturing Pipeline Program in 2018 with philanthropic funds, and we're expanding both initiatives now with OWS Good Jobs Challenge grant funding. These programs give students work readiness and technical training for an in-demand job, work-based learning, job search assistance, a pre-apprenticeship certificate, and the opportunity to sit for an industry certification exam. In our region, we consider Turtle Lot High School in Thompson as a real leader in this type of programming. Their district and school leaders really don't shy away from the fact that 40% of their students typically don't go on to college. And they give those students every opportunity to start on a career pathway right out of high school. They know that high school graduates who have work readiness skills, foundational technical skills, and exposure to a field like manufacturing or healthcare can achieve a family-sustaining career without a college degree. The results of Turtle Lot's first healthcare program last fall, which was a certified nurse assistant program, show the impact that these programs can have on student engagement and success. And Laura, you could go to the next slide. So attendance for all 14 students was better during the semester they were enrolled in the CNA program than it was during the spring semester when they weren't enrolled. All 14 students earned an 88 or better in the CNA class, successfully completed their clinical hours, passed the CNA certification exam, even while 4 of the students were failing a core academic course. So these kind of courses can really engage kids that may be kind of struggling in school. And most importantly, many of these students received multiple job offers when they completed the course, many months before graduating high school. Wages for CNAs or entry-level welders aren't great if they're seen as a final destination, but they are a really great starting point for a good career. An 18-year-old with a diploma, an industry-recognized credential, and an entry-level manufacturing or healthcare job is really well positioned to advance along a career pathway to the middle class. Next slide. And next, I'll talk about short-term demand-driven workforce training. We hear a lot about closing the gap between the skills of the state's 60,000 job seekers and the skills needed for the state's 80,000 job openings. And we faced that challenge in Eastern Connecticut in 2015 when Electric Boat announced that it would hire tens of thousands of workers over 2 decades, with ripple effects across our regional manufacturing sector. In response, our manufacturing regional sector partnership designed EWIB's Manufacturing Pipeline Initiative, or MPI. The MPI's core component is short-term, intensive, demand-driven training that allows participants to quickly qualify for entry-level jobs on career pathways. Wraparound services to address barriers to training have been crucial to the success of the MPI, which has placed more than 4,000 workers since 2016 with support from the state, from different federal sources, and from philanthropy. More than 40% of the people placed through the MPI have been opportunity youth. With the slide shows, with just 5 to 10 weeks of training, the MPI has helped almost 1,700 opportunity youth move from unemployment or low wage, part-time, often dead-end jobs into careers with better wages, benefits, full-time regular hours, and room for advancement. In the next slide, looking more closely at the 2,000 plus youth we've served through the MPI, we can see that 90% of them had no post-secondary degree when they enrolled. And then the next slide shows that all MPI youth were unemployed or loosely attached to the labor force, and 85% had no prior manufacturing experience. With this population, the MPI has a 90% completion rate, 90% placement rate in jobs with an average starting wage of $20 with a pathway to middle-class wages. The next slide. So finally, I'll just add a little bit to what my colleagues have said about the Connecticut Youth Employment Program. Just looking at research on summer youth employment programs nationally, they've consistently shown that these programs reduce criminal justice system involvement and positively impact social emotional skills, academic and career aspirations, and work habits. And then my final slide, this has been referenced by a few people. We're still compiling the final statewide numbers, but the CYEP this past summer served over 4,200 youth. Alex said, in the North Central region, they've had over 2,000 that they were not able to serve. It's been similar ratios across the different regions. So, because of funding limitations, we just weren't able to serve as many as we would like. Certainly great to hear one appropriations co-chair, Representative Walker, advocating for the program. I met with Senator Austin, the other co-chair, a few weeks ago about this program. So we're very ready to scale this program up with more funding and kind of more predictability with the funding received for this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to everybody who participated in this conversation. I can see from the chat that there's just a really robust amount of support that goes into the work that is currently being done to scaling these best practices and to determining how we best, fund and ensure that we're filling in any gaps that we may have so that we're fully supporting our students. So we do have time for a couple quick questions. I do just want to let you know that I've been having a quick sidebar with Doug Casey, who's going to present on the Connecticut Digital Equity Plan, and we've decided to defer that until our next GWC meeting so that he can have the full amount of time that is required to really go through that robust work that he's doing. So we have a few minutes to take some questions, and I see a hand from Rep. Nuccio. So take it away, please.
Thank you, Kelly. I just heard an awful lot on here. And I have a lot of questions, and I hear everybody's meeting with Tony and Kathy. I would highly suggest you also meet with the ranking members. So, for bipartisan support and information on this. That's my only feedback right now.
Thank you, Rep. Nuccio. We've been having conversations with the workforce boards about putting together some legislative meetings that we could have, across the cognizant committees with ranking members and the chairs. So we look forward to having that conversation.
Yeah, as ranking member of appropriations, I would think people would want to talk to me about it too, but.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Let's see. Have 6 screens of people. I saw a hand go up and then go down, and I don't see who that was at this moment, but at this time I see another hand from Christina Morales.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. This was really great. I spent a lot of time in working with youth serving organizations, so it's really nice to see that this is taking place in our state. I did want to offer to the leads at the workforce boards and partners that we are offering a CLIF tool through the Two Generational Initiative that could really help young people identify the work that they're doing, whether taking a pay increase or taking a new job in a different training program in different fields, could help them utilizing this CLIP tool. And so I wonder if there's an opportunity that we might be able to partner with you all. I did capture the first slide of all your contact information, and I look forward to sending you all an email and doing that. And then in addition, we are working on some really great benefit CLIF pilot. Our report is almost done. We've been working with a number of different executive agencies to put this pilot together, including the Office of Workforce Strategies have been extremely supportive in this work. And so we look forward to sharing that report with everyone here. It's really amazing what we're seeing, and we're really looking forward to the support on making sure that we can get these pilots off and running to help support families and their children. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Can I just say, Kelly, Christina, most of us meet monthly, so we could coordinate that with you, so you could, maybe do it once or twice instead of all 5.
That would be really awesome, Bill. I would really appreciate that. I don't know who exactly leads that, but I guess I can
Christina,
connect
our
with
office
Kelly.
leads that, and I'll reach
Okay.
out to you, and we'll get
Okay.
you scheduled on one of our upcoming meetings.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for your time and your attention today on such an important topic. We do have 2 upcoming meetings that I just want to put on all of your radar screens. We will have our 3rd annual Regional Sector Partnership convening on January 10th. This will be hosted at Central State University, and we're really excited to have a real robust discussion on many topics that we've touched on here today. But this is our business-led initiative where our businesses come together to say, these are the items that we need to grow and thrive in Connecticut. And the number one topic, I think, of every one of the 13 regional sector partnerships is workforce development. And this convening brings together our business leaders, our workforce boards who are conveners. It brings together our academic partners and many of our support partners. And I also invite, the legislature to come and participate in these really robust conversations. We'll have lots of breakout sessions and opportunities to share and discuss. So happy to do that and have all of you there. We do have a registration with a limit. I think last year we had about 200 folks participate. We have room for maybe 300 this year, so we're excited about that. And then our 3rd annual Workforce Development Summit will be held at the AquaTurf, and we are currently working on the agenda for that, and we'll provide more information as we move forward. But these are some dates that would be fantastic for you to put a hold on your calendar for. Again, I want to thank you all for joining us and participating in this conversation. And all of you contribute to this work in such meaningful ways. We want to thank you for that. And we look forward to seeing you in the new year and wishing you all very happy holiday season.
Thank you.
Thank you.